The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that she used to call a lot. She'd call for help with her computer. She'd call to invite me over to Clay Beach. She'd call to ask me why I wasn't watching 30 Rock right this second. She has a lot of questions to ask and a lot of things to say. Of course, the conversations weren't totally one-sided. I'd often get her perspective on the news of the day and advice for navigating social situations. The next thing you should know about Mrs. Filholm is that she doesn't call much anymore. Ever since we started this podcast, we barely ever start a story before she or I warn each other, save it for the show. You, sweet listener, have a front row seat to our friendship.
The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that he doesn't understand what vandalism is. Back when I was a beleaguered high school teacher, I walked into my classroom one morning to find the desks overturned, papers scattered about, and lyrics from thrash band Slayer scribbled on the whiteboard. It sucked for me and caused alarm in the administration. What nefarious outside hooligans had broken into the school and done such a thing? Turns out it was Andrew and his classmates, the pride and joy of our community. To this very day, Andrew says it wasn't vandalism, but rather a harmless prank meant to make me feel somehow loved and adored by my students. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that he's the one who encouraged my habit of hanging clay tiles, uninvited and unapproved, in public places. In this case, I'm grateful for his lack of understanding, but it tracks. When it comes to vandalism, he just doesn't get it.
Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world. Do you want to talk about the vandalism at Mullen High School?
Do you?
We can talk about it.
Do you want to? You can't say the name of your high school.
I can say. I went there. It's on my resume. It's on my LinkedIn. People know.
I pretend that we have this OPSEC and I realize, yeah, you can look up every single thing about us. All right, tell me about it.
It was a cold winter's day at Mullen High School. We had just, me and my classmates and I had been to the varsity basketball game, and your classroom was right next to the gymnasium. Mm-hmm. We were fooling around at Mullen High School. There's two gyms. There's the big gym where all the games and stuff take place, and then there's the old gym, which is kind of a practice area. So we had just been to the practice gym, and we were fooling around. I think they had volleyball nets up, so we were playing volleyball, and we were coming back, and all those doors in the hallway between the two gyms, we were just, checking them, just seeing if they're locked. Cause,
criminal activity.
Locks keep honest people honest, and in this case, they didn't because they weren't locked. There was one unlocked door in the hallway, and it was yours.
I'm so angry.
And to this day, I know that there's security camera footage of me trying the door, mm-hmm. and then it opening, and me looking back at everyone and being like, "Oh my god, what have we stumbled upon?" But anyways, that's kind of where my involvement in the situation ended. I opened the door, I went in, I looked around, and then I got out of there. And then on Monday morning, because I think this was all happening over the weekend, mm-hmm. We were in a lot of trouble because there was some gang violence. Our dean told us there had been a major incident mm-hmm. in the G hallway. G stands for God, which is where you taught, funnily enough. And my associates uh-huh. had piled up all the desks in the middle of the room, and I don't know what all they did, but the telling part in this whole situation was the writing on the board, which is some kind of demonic script, inciting people to kill each other and that sort of thing. It said Slayer.
Well, Slayer lyrics, dude, for real.
I don't know. I didn't even know Slayer existed before this incident.
It's not a happy band. Come on.
But anyways, so at that point, we all got called into the deans. We had to go and report ourselves. We self-reported our violations to Mrs. Filholm. And
once you knew that there was camera footage and we were going to find you all anyway, everybody started spitting it.
To this day, I still maintain that I didn't do a goddamn thing except acknowledge that the door was open.
Okay, well, I didn't know. Nobody was telling me at the time the actual different levels of involvement. You were all quite united in a front against me. You had to come and sit there while I scolded you all because I don't believe that it was we were just trying to show you that we loved you, Mrs. Filholm. That's such bullshit. But
I didn't even know you.
I know, exactly. It was other people who said that, but you had to come and basically I just scolded you. And I was just saying, and it was a very hard time for our community. To tell you the truth, the teachers really did feel beleaguered. It was very hard. And we couldn't believe that it was you guys because it was not a clever prank. AP English students should be doing a funny prank so that we know, okay, you got me. You guys actually did a senior prank that year, and it was brilliant. But and it was just as disruptive, but you took care to make it not truly damaging. Anyway, I remember one of your classmates, it was Teddy Hamster, he raised his hand and said, so are you telling us we're in trouble for not pranking you better? And I said, kinda. It was a lame prank. If you wanted it to not make me feel hated, you should have done it better. But I know it wasn't thoughtful. I get what you're saying. It was
it wasn't even premeditated. It was like, this door is open. What should we do?
I understand that. And what you did was just dumb. Whatever. I don't care. But I think it's very funny because your words to me was, really, Mrs. Filholm? Vandalism?
That's when you decided I was an asshole.
I really did. I wanted to punch you in the face.
And I still maintain, whatever. It's not, to me and the rest of us, the administration, you and our dean, we had no idea what you guys were talking about. We're like, what's going on here?
No, I know. I understand that. But you got to understand. Just a minute ago,
we thought MS-13 had been here and taken all of our women and children or something.
I mean, Andrew, you have to understand the context, and I know you never will. Anyway, that's funny. I don't care. All right, got anything else? I've got some follow-up.
How about let's start at the beginning. What'd you see on your way to the dollhouse today?
It's just such a warm. It's turning into summer, and so I just see so many colorful characters all the time, walking, waiting for buses. It's just kind of a bustle.
It is a bustle
around here, and I like it a lot. I didn't see anything
seems like
particularly hilarious or funny. It was just, I saw one guy kind of like lying on the grass at a bus stop, and that was funny. But it was the middle of the day. He was taking a nap, or he was just waiting in a relaxed fashion. But it wasn't anything particularly funny or weird. It was just like, wow, there's really a bustle of urban people. One thing I did notice, everybody's carrying stuff. The things I carry, because these are people walking or taking buses. So we've got collections of backpacks and people carrying groceries and stuff. It just feels very urban, and I like it.
Mm-hmm. Today I noticed I take pretty much the same route to get here every time now that I don't have, eye appointments to worry about and that sort of thing. And today I discovered a new donut shop totally by smell. It's like 80 degrees, and it's just like donuts fresh out the frying oil. It smells so good on this corner.
Stop and get one?
No, I didn't have time. I've been noticing donut shops everywhere I go, and I cannot for the life of me figure out how in this day and age you make a donut shop work. How can you afford to pay rent on selling donuts?
I actually thought that today on my way, and it was like a brand name franchise, like Winchell's or something, which felt very old school. I agree. And it's on a weird little corner. Like, who stops there for donuts?
This is a mom and pop in a different place, but I cannot, just imagine for a second that their rent is $2,500 a month, which is more than that, I'm sure.
I know.
And, maybe if it's a fancy donut shop, they're charging $1.50 a donut. Like, how many freaking donuts? Good Lord.
Right. No kidding.
Just to break even.
I know. Do you like a donut?
That doesn't. Oh, I love a donut.
Do you?
I'm kind of a donut anti-snob. There's all those fancy donuts around, like Voodoo Donuts, and they're trying to put cereal and bacon on a donut. Not a fan of that. Well, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
But it's not my go-to. I just love
a glazed raisin.
A plain glazed raised donut.
So I don't care for donuts. I think that they look better than they taste always. But that fancy donut. Now that's the thing. Like you said, maybe they're charging a couple of bucks per donut. There are so many fancy donut shops with bacon and Thai food on top of the donuts and cereal.
I'm just going to name and shame. Voodoo Donuts is terrible.
Is it?
Yeah, you get a dozen donuts for like $30. How can you afford to eat a donut that's that expensive?
I know, right? I guess that's how they pay their rent. I don't eat really
and they only
sugar
take cash, I think.
Do they really?
Yes.
Is that right? How funny.
It's just absurd.
Yeah, I don't eat sugar as a rule, but if I'm bringing, I just thought that I'm with you. Donuts, but boy, the smell of donuts.
So good.
You should have stopped.
I really should have, but then I wouldn't be here right now. I'd still be eating my way through a dozen donuts.
That's right. We're not on too much of a schedule or anything, but that's fine. Ooh, I have an apology to pop culture.
Dear pop culture.
Yeah, in a couple of
we need some little segue music for that, kind of like a instrumental piano, kind of like for a monologue on SNL.
Yeah, you could build that in, Andrew. That's easy to do.
Well, Jonah could.
Jonah could. Drop it. My apology, God, we're good with our words today. Apology to pop culture. A couple of episodes ago, we were talking about homelessness and the addicts and thing, and I heard myself make the mistake of saying these people are choosing to be addicts because the thesis of the film that we were discussing was kind of that they were choosing to be homeless because... Anyway, I just want to... That's an insensitive thing to say that imply that there's a choice there when it's a disease and it's an addiction. And I thought when I listened to it, well, people will forgive me. I mean, it was in the context, and this is a long-form show, and we're just talking, and sometimes the words come out a little bit wrong, and that's not too insensitive. And then I thought, well, words are tools, and I like to be accurate, so my apologies to pop culture for implying certain things are choices when they're not.
On behalf of pop culture, I'd like to say you're not forgiven. We've been tremendously hurt by your statement,
bitch.
And we have no room for an apology at this time.
Can I call back tomorrow?
Sure. It's like trying to get on the Comedy Works thing. You got to call in every Tuesday.
Call every Wednesday. Make my call.
And then one day they'll say, your time has come. We've accepted your apology.
That's what happens. I have an alarm set every single week. I do call.
We've forgotten the terrible things you said on stage last time, and we're ready to give you another try.
I'll let you know when that happens, and then maybe you will forgive me for saying it was a choice when it wasn't. I took some naps recently.
Ooh, how'd you like that? I like a good nap.
I know you do, but I do not. And it is very interesting to me that several times in the past week, I lay myself down and took an actual little nap, and it felt fine and great. Who even am I?
That's exactly what a nap is. I'm surprised. I'm surprised it took you to 50 before you figured this out.
Too boring. I don't like to sleep at all. But anyway, that's interesting. That's a new me, I guess.
I'm noting that. I just started my notes page for this show, and it says naps are good.
Naps are good. And and it was refreshing, and it's just very interesting to me. So that's a new habit. It's
a new habit? You going to do it again? Are you a napper?
I've done it like 3 times in a week.
That's fantastic.
Feels like I'm building a habit. We'll see. I don't know. It's just weird. I love my bed.
When you nap and when you get home from work, how do you even have time?
Last week, that's a freaking good question, and that's why I don't nap, because how could I possibly have the time? There's so much to do. Last week, after you left, I took a little nap before I did my yard work, and I felt just wonderfully revived. I bet I didn't even lay down for 40 minutes. And then I felt revived, and I think I did just kind of... Anyway, and then I took a nap on Sunday afternoon because it was one of those rainy hailstorms, and George and I were sitting out.
Good time to nap.
We were sitting out on the west portico watching the rain and the hail, and I just kind of went, I'm getting sleepier and sleepier. So I went and lay down. So kind of afternoon naps. Not too long. That day, it was Sunday. I had some time. I think I'll allow myself an hour, maybe a little longer. And then I go, well, look at that. Then I'm actually more productive for the evening because I took a nap.
You're going to have to watch out. You're still new to this whole nap thing. Pretty soon you may find yourself getting into a routine. And if you can lock down that perfect routine of, because there are good naps and bad naps. And if you really need a nap, then then it's going to be a good nap. But sometimes you'll kind of half need a nap. So there's like this special little incantation, and you got to get the chicken bones in the right place. And there's all kinds of voodoo that makes a good nap happen. But if you can unlock that recipe, I want to know about it.
Well, here's the recipe to me. If I feel really quite sleepy, I go lie down.
Whoa. Profound.
I can't imagine thinking I need to take a nap if I'm not even so sleepy. That's insane. I don't like to take a nap. I don't like to lie down kind of ever. I don't like to sit down. We've discussed it. So the secret sauce for me is when I feel real sleepy and it's the afternoon and I think you should just push through this. Then I go, maybe you don't have to push through it. Maybe you can just lie down for a minute and you might feel better. That's my nap formula.
Why are you so sleepy? You've been staying up late?
I mean, always. I don't know. Just I think I normally get sleepy in the afternoon, and sometimes I'm just sleepy. It's not every day. Just sometimes I feel sleepy. Maybe it's because of the rainstorm and the tin roof on the west portico. That's sleep-inducing.
That's such a great sound.
I don't think I ever get enough sleep, and so it's just very revolutionary in my brain to go. If you feel sleepy, you can just lie down for a few minutes, and then you don't feel so sleepy. Seems like a good formula for a good nap.
It's making me sleepy.
I know. I guess afternoons are a little sleepy. I've been eating a little bit of carbs. Not terrible, but like pita chips with my crackers and cheese. And so I think that makes me a little sleepier.
For sure. Mm-hmm. I went on this fantastic trip sponsored by the university, and it was a finance trip. And they organized all these amazing speakers for us to go hear, and there was this one guy, and he's kind of a British big business guy, a little bit of a celebrity. He gives talks to super wealthy executives about how to be more efficient. Mm-hmm. And the big takeaway from this talk that he gave us was actually don't eat carbs at lunch because then you're going to be sleepy all afternoon. That was like the revelation that he imparted to us. And this guy, he had a speaker fee that was...
I was going to just say...
The 30,000 pound...
Very, very jealous of his speaker fee. And he's saying don't eat carbs at lunch. I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong. But
how about the Mad Men days when people drank like 3 martinis lunches?
Oh my goodness. I fantasize about that sometimes.
I know.
There was a short period while I was still at school, like working over the summer from home. And I'd have, like 3 or 4 beers throughout the day. And then it'd be dinner time and I'd have 3 or 4 more beers. And I was drinking like, I don't know.
Andrew, I remember those days very well.
9 beers a day, just without even trying. And that was as close as I ever got to the Mad Men thing. And it's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. That's right. But we did have many, also because I was freelancing and building a book and stuff, we had many of our lunches over beers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was pretty productive,
what a great
really.
luxury it is to be able to have a beer midday.
Sure was. Don't have it anymore because now I have a day job, for which I'm very thankful. Hey, I have some actually follow-up besides my naps.
What's your follow-up?
I actually heard from a listener who's a friend of mine. So it was offline, it was text. But this is a former addict who, listening to, I think it was our episode 20, the one I apologize for saying junkies have a choice, was listening to that episode, and much to my surprise, I got the text message in all caps, great content. Andrew, do not feel so strongly about that episode. And so I think I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. But this is a former addict, and his point was he is grateful for his recovery, and his recovery was forced by getting in trouble. Mm-hmm. He got in legal trouble because of his, because of actions related to his addiction, and has become clean and healthy. He talked a lot about that gratitude for getting in trouble. Oh, he talked a lot about how the recovery has taken great humility. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting. I believe it. And then he and I kind of had a discussion about positive versus negative reinforcement. And I think that either the podcast about homelessness or that film that we watched about homelessness and drug addiction talk about that, like positive versus negative reinforcement. And that reminds me of a high school teacher. You study a lot, as a teacher, you study a lot of that kind of what motivates people and how do you get people to do stuff. And of course, in a classroom, we generally try to keep it with positive reinforcement. But I also know with teenagers, negative reinforcement, if they are truly in trouble, is the only thing that will work. Sometimes the only thing any of us can hope is to get in trouble when we are doing something wrong. It's the only thing that can save us from ourselves.
The remembering that movie, that documentary, whatever, the thing that stuck with me the most is in order to get these people help, you have to remove them from the situation. And for a lot of these people, that does mean going to jail.
Mm-hmm. That's where they get the methadone. And we talked heavily about that. And that the problem is that the police aren't allowed. It's the decriminalization that's the problem. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
So from a former addict, not meth or heroin, but from a former addict saying, again, we didn't have a deep enough conversation that he's endorsing that philosophy, but he did say that he's grateful for getting in trouble because that was the first path to making him get on the road to recovery.
Good. Well, kudos to the listener, and
it's hard work.
Good luck with the continuing recovery.
Exactly right. It's hard work, and it's humility is what is required, he says. And it did remind me, here we go, parenting. We need more segue music. Parenting role model of the week.
Ooh, what is it? What is it?
It really did remind me of that. And one of my deals with teenagers is that we need to stay vigilant and protect them. And one of the new role models that I invented for the book is the soldier. And I think of this as like an armed soldier protecting the perimeter, keeping the boundaries safe. I talk about in the book, there was one summer I was in New York City, and in Grand Central Station, which is just a beautiful, bustling place to be, there were like armed guards there. I mean, Marines there in flak jacket. I mean, the whole thing, like standing there with machine guns, right? Certainly you see it in Paris, the gendarme is there. So these like really heavily armed, and somehow it makes me feel safer. Just like if anything crazy is going to go down, at least I am protected. That's the role model for parents, is somebody standing there protecting those boundaries with force if necessary, hopefully not necessary, because anyway, so that goes to boundaries for teenagers, and it goes back to an addict saying, I am grateful for getting in trouble. If teenagers are up to no good, often it is a function of them not feeling okay. And we got to stay vigilant and know what's going on, as I have discussed. You don't step in and yank them out of harm's way if that's not necessary, but always, always, always protecting those boundaries like a soldier, because their lives depend on it. So that's parents who keep strong boundaries for their kids. And when it's hard, because teenagers' job is to push against every boundary, and that's where it gets wonky, right? We know it's our job to put boundaries for our kids. We know it's our job to have rules and enforce the rules. You don't know or expect how very creatively they will push against those boundaries. They don't like them. And if we can be like soldiers going, yep, this is hell, man. Sometimes these days are real, real rough. And it takes bravery and courage, and we got to protect them, and so we got to protect those boundaries. And that means for parents, literally following through with your rules, giving consequences for crappy actions, which can be very, very hard.
You have a parenting story that I think about often, and you can stop me if I'm speaking out of class and you don't want your family laundry on the air. But there was a time when your younger son was extremely young, and he wouldn't eat his grilled cheese or something. You went out to dinner, and you or your partner imposed the consequence. You said, George, if you do not finish that grilled cheese, we will not go out to dinner for a month.
That's right.
And I believe he didn't eat it, and
correct.
You turned out punishing yourselves.
We sure did.
But it was worth it, because he learned a lesson, hopefully.
I think so.
George, I hope you eat every grilled cheese.
He's still pretty stubborn. But that's right. That is George. He was like, I don't want to. The funny thing, it was so cute. He was so little. I swear he's probably 7, and he had just played a violin concert at elementary school, because my kids did Suzuki strings. I don't know if it was the actual concert where George didn't play a single note, but anyway, it doesn't matter. God, he was so cute and funny. Not really a musician, but he sure gave it a shot. And so he was in his little white shirt and black pants, probably a little black tie, like dressed for a concert. We were having a family dinner afterwards, and wouldn't eat the $5 grilled cheese. And we were frustrated, and he was willing to take that consequence, and our whole family couldn't go out to dinner for a whole month. And those were during the busy days of kid baseball and stuff. It was convenient to go out to dinner. Yeah, and that's exactly right, Andrew. That's a good example, because you sometimes punish yourselves. One of the, this kind of gets more into where I talk about honoring your kids and letting them fail. But one of the things that I say, it can be really expensive and a bummer, because if you bring home any D's this semester, you don't get to go on that whatever trip that we paid for. We've already put down the $4,000 down payment because you're going with your classmates to Europe for the summer. If you bring home any D's, you can't go on that trip. You bring home a D, it's real tempting for the parents to go, oh, okay, we'll dial that back. Okay, we'll make you do something else because we're going to throw $4,000 deposit down the toilet. Life lessons are expensive. So are piano lessons and individual coaching and guitar lessons. We pay a lot for lessons for our kids. Sometimes life lessons are the most important ones. Suck it up, throw the money down the toilet, and lesson learned. We are all begging for consequences in our lives, I think. And that's why it reminds me of that idea about drug addicts going, the only thing that saved me was getting in trouble. I don't like damaging my life. Most of us aren't doing that out of a joyful place when we're making stupid decisions that harm us or others. And sometimes, if we are lucky, people will swoop in and go, not okay, you're in trouble for that. And then you get a chance to, start over. And if you're lucky, I think that's true. So that's being a soldier as a parenting role model.
Well, I got a thing for you, Mrs. Filholm. So if you, by chance, had a child that didn't need as many life lessons as you budgeted for, perhaps you've got a little bit of disposable income, something that you could spend on a watch, per se.
You're one of the lucky ones. Your kid got an unexpected scholarship, and so now you have free money.
That's right. And
okay.
You know what you should do with that? You know where you should take that money?
I do know.
What should you do with it, Filholm?
I would go to FlâneurWatches.com.
You sure would.
Want to update me on that?
Yeah, I will tell you that Flâneur is an independently owned and operated watch dealer based in Denver, Colorado. Specializing in rare and vintage mechanical watches, Flâneur prides itself in being the absolute best option to buy, sell, and trade watches. You will not find higher cash offers, lower consignment fees, or better customer service anywhere. We promise to give you the time and care that your watch deserves every time. Trust us with your watch buying and selling process, and we will treat you as family. Visit www.flaneurwatches.com today to find out more. Mrs. Filholm, how in the world do you spell flaneur?
F as in fabulous, L as in Lisa, A as in awesome, N as in next to nothing.
Next level.
Next level. E as in egg crate. U as in upside down. And R as in robot. Watches.com. Do it. Go there.
FLANEUR watches.com.
Sorry, sponsor. We sure appreciate their sponsorship. We sure appreciate their appreciation of good, beautiful things.
We certainly do.
And helping everybody out. You got any follow-up on your own watch quest?
No. This elusive watch for something, I'm looking for a Timex here. And this Timex was brand new like a month ago. And it is just impossible to get one. Even the watch market is notoriously, there's a lot of people looking for a very small number of watches. So it's hard to find exactly what you want and get to it before someone else does at a reasonable price.
That's what I was going to ask. If you were willing to drop like an insane amount of money, could you buy that watch right now? Flâneur could do it for you?
Yeah. So this watch, I think they released it new for $175, and I could go on eBay right now and I could spend $750 and get it, but that's not really what I want.
Yeah.
So they're still working on it. I'm still got my fingers crossed, but we'll see what happens.
They've got a cool Instagram site, as we said. Go check them out. Thanks, FlânEurWatches.com. We sure appreciate your support and belief in us.
Absolutely.
Isn't that nice? Hey, I saw another thing on the dollhouse. On my way to the dollhouse today, kinda.
What was it?
If you don't mind my saying, we can cut it if you do. I saw your mom. Wasn't really on my way
here,
but
joke?
She came
your
and
mom?
visited me. No, I saw your actual mother. She came and visited me in my office. It was awesome.
It's very sweet of her.
It was very sweet.
I bet that brightened up your day.
It sure the heck did.
Isn't my mom a wonderful lady?
Yeah, she's delightful. And also, speaking of which, back to the teenager thing, your parents kept quite strict boundaries for you.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
You didn't want to get in trouble. You didn't want to disappoint them.
I think that, they had strict boundaries in general. And then I was just the kind of kid who I would beat myself up if I did something wrong. So together, those two combinations, all that pressure yielded a little diamond that is me.
That's totally right. And she says that, you naturally wanted to be a good kid. And yeah, me too. I was like that. I beat myself up for doing something wrong when I was a kid. But I talked once to a 20-year-old when I was writing my book about that. I said, your parents were strict, but clearly you got away with stuff, right? You weren't perfect. By the way, your mother did confess to me, I think this is okay to say, she doesn't love hearing things like you hitchhiked barefoot to Budapest. She doesn't love that. She doesn't love hearing about it. We're all grateful to hear it when it's over, but that was kind of funny. Of course she doesn't love hearing it. We don't need to know all the details, thanks. So I asked this 20-year-old person, your parents were strict, but clearly they don't know everything. You certainly got away with things. Did it make you feel like you were pulling one over on your parents? How much, did it make you lose respect for your parents that you got away with some stuff? And this 20-year-old kid said, my parents were strict, and what it did is that it allowed us to rebel to a green level. And that was such a cool way to put it, and I get it, and that's exactly what I think it's about, keeping those boundaries safe and being strict, and really just keep reinforcing their boundaries. You get to decide for your family what the boundaries are, but you gotta hold them, and the kids are bound to push against them, and they need us to hold those boundaries firm. And I love that he said that. I only got to rebel to a green level. It just wasn't even worth pushing off that edge because my parents were going to be there holding. I love that. That was such a beautiful way to put it. That, I think, is the golden mean we strive for. Give them something to push against because they want to. Mm-hmm. Give them something to push against. If they have nothing to push against, they go out into the black void and have to make... We know their brains aren't capable of making actually great decisions for themselves. So we have to help them.
That's actually a really interesting point. Is you do have to give them the opportunity to rebel, because if you are insanely strict with no chance for rebellion, then these are the kids who go off to college and just go insane.
Totally right, or who secretly rebel, and who rebel in ways their parents will actually never hear about that are often damaging to the psyche of the kid. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. So you got to give them a chance to rebel and expect a little bit of that. I'm telling you, it's going to be worse in some cases than you can even imagine, and you're going to get exhausted. That's the whole point of my book. Listen, parents, you are exhausted. It is so tempting to hide and hibernate and not stay vigilant, but I really think that all of us, I mean, seriously, teenagers and all of us, we need people helping us stay on the right course, especially if we are making choices that are not healthy for us and others. That's the end of that segment, Andrew, but it was nice to see your mother. She's amazing. I mean, come on, for real. One more other follow-up. We talked last week, I think, about if you were skeptical.
Yes, I've been thinking a lot about that.
What do you got?
I think I am skeptical. And I think a lot of it is, well, I don't know if it's because I'm a data scientist or I am a data scientist because I'm skeptical.
Right.
But I do notice that a lot of the skepticism shows up in my job. And the way I look at the world, I automatically begin reckoning and supposing and creating this image in my brain about how I think things work. And
hypothesis.
I'm always making hypotheses. I'm like perennially engineering things, constantly engineering things in my brain. Mm-hmm. And then like when you tell me, so I'm looking at this. This is the example we used in the last show, I think, where you showed me some flowers or some plants in your planters that had been destroyed. And I'm looking at these plants. You've directed my attention to them, and I'm like, those don't look so good. I bet they're being eaten by something. And then you tell me that they've been pummeled by the hail. So then I have to do like this little like reconciliation in my brain. And my first response is to ask you, are you sure they weren't being nibbled on by a rabbit or something?
You're collecting data.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good insight that I didn't know about myself, but you brought it up, and it caused me to look inward and say, what makes me so skeptical? And it's because I am always coming up with the why. Why is this way? Why is it that way? That's how my brain plays all day long.
I'm really glad I could play the service of giving you some insight into your own brain, Andrew. I mean, that's what I'm here for. And go ahead.
I hope that you asking me that question causes some of our listeners to think, well, what kind of idiosyncrasies do I have that might be that could be examined?
Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing that I've been thinking about it. I kept saying last week, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's your superpower, and indeed it is. That's exactly right. The way you look at the world is skeptical in terms of it's an if-then, your if-then, Andrew. You're looking at it always as an if-then statement, and that is such a brilliant thing to do instead of accepting the obvious. It's how we taught you English class. My whole point was be skeptical, question authority, question everything, and get the data and get the information, especially when we're looking at an argument. People are trying to direct you towards an argument all the time, so be skeptical about it and see how it's made, right? So it's great. I realize it's not only, of course it's your superpower, but here's the thing when I was asking, because I was like, God, Andrew, it's like almost feels contrary sometimes. It's not. And here's the difference between your skepticism and perhaps some others or whatever. It's not a comparative thing, but I realize you're not cynical. You are generally not a cynical person. I used to, back in the days of writing my blog, I had that kind of little phrase that I was trying to encourage about parenting. Always be skeptical, never get cynical. And I think that's cool and important. An important part of your skepticism, it is not negative. It is not contrary. You're not saying that to me, which, like I said, the way I presented it last week, like, do you think you're just naturally skeptical? Because, God, Andrew, every time I say something, you kind of challenge it. You're not challenging it. You're literally asking for more information, and it is your superpower. And it's because you're not cynical that it's awesome.
Well, it's something for me to take notice of. If you feel like I might be cynical or I might be attacking you, there's a good chance that other people who I encounter throughout the day are feeling the same thing.
You're not.
Well, what I need to be conscious of, that's how I come off.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying.
So that I can recognize it and temper it.
I see what you're saying. And I'm not sure. Yeah, that might be. I guess I was saying that it kind of felt to me a little
abrasive.
But also,
it feels abrasive.
It feels a little bit, like, right. Like hating on what I just said. But it's not. And in you, I can accept that. But probably in other people, I'm not so keen to accept it.
Well, and someone I just met, they're not. They don't have the backstory to give me the leeway that you can.
They don't know you're nice.
Yeah, they have no idea. So it's important that I remember that.
You do come off as arrogant. We know that. We've talked about it. That's seriously what we talked about at the beginning.
I was just thinking in my brain while my mouth words are talking about these flowers that are damaged. I keep thinking about how I just described myself as a diamond. You remember that just a minute ago? And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, but I saw the twinkle in your eye that the listeners can't see, and you knew that was funny. You were being hilarious. I saw how you said that. You didn't mean it, really. I mean, you are a diamond. But also, no, right, we discussed it at the beginning of this very program. I thought you were such a jerk when you said that to me, and it seemed so arrogant. And then I realized...
And then you found out it was.
Well, I was going to say is that then I realized it's not exactly arrogant. Well, it didn't hurt that you got 2 5s on your 2 AP tests that we taught. We were pretty happy about that. And no, it's not arrogance. You are a diamond, Andrew. That's all I'm saying. You are a diamond.
You can get away with a lot if you do well on your tests.
100%. You can also get away with a lot if you are a person who shows up and does your schoolwork all the time. I cannot tell you how surprised I was as a teacher over the years to be, like how very quickly that became apparent to me. The kid who does his work or her work every single time, turns in everything on time with good, attention to detail. If that kid comes to me and says, hey, you lost my paper, I am so inclined to give them a benefit of the doubt that I will not give to anybody else. I mean, I was the teacher going, teachers don't lose papers. Teachers don't, I know teachers lose papers, but I generally wasn't one of them. And it was like, that's what everybody says. I'm not buying it. I mean, I don't buy it when kids say, my new teacher lost my paper. But if you are a kid like you who seriously, routinely does work and on time and well done regularly, you can get away with so much. Most of you test that by your senior year, as you know.
Mrs. Filholm, would you believe that this week, we don't just have one sponsor, we've got 2.
Can you believe it?
I can believe it because we're putting out quality stuff.
I know. I would like you to read the ad copy, please. And then, because it's a new sponsor, we're going to talk about it a little bit.
You sent me this ad copy today, and I got it on my computer instead of my phone.
Oh, I think I sent it. Yeah, I sent it in a funny way. I sent it to an email. I think I did to your even iCloud.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
Right. And
I didn't mean to. I was doing it from my work computer.
I was so confused. But anyways, here it is. I've got it pulled up. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you or someone you know struggling thanks to a divorce or breakup? Colorado Rebuilders offers a 10-week class that supports people experiencing all aspects of this challenging time. Social isolation, shame, fear, they're all normal, but painful. And the Colorado Rebuilders class will help you move through these stages with other people who are struggling with the same loss. Together, you can gain new insight and new tools that will help you move into the next chapter of your life with confidence. At Colorado Rebuilders, we build hope. Excuse me. At Colorado Rebuilders, we build hope.
Yeah, what do you mean? You did it fine the first time.
Visit coloradorebuilders.com to learn more about the program and classes beginning this fall.
Did you think you hadn't resolved that sentence?
That's right.
Yeah.
I was waiting I was reading as if there was more to come.
Hope for something else. I got it. It was a fine ad read, Andrew. A fine read.
Well, so in my cold open, I mentioned that you used to call all the time, and now you don't call so often. And there's another thing that happened in between us starting this podcast. Mm-hmm. So you calling all the time, and then you not calling all the time. Mm-hmm. You also started taking this class.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that is part of it, but I do want to go back to this. Andrew, the reason I don't call so much, yes, because we're saving it for the show, and yes, this is our opportunity to hang out together, because the truth is, sometimes we bother people when we're live in front of them. They get annoyed. I remember specifically 2 people we were having lunch with like a little less than a year ago, but definitely before we started this, going, okay, you two, we can't like be near you. It's annoying. So that's we went, oh great, we get to do a podcast, and people can choose to listen or not. But also it's because I have respect for the fact that you have a lovely relationship with Delaney. That's the difference. You were single when I called all the time. And I have definitely dialed it back out of respect for your actual main important relationship in your life. Isn't that kind of me?
It is kind of you.
Yeah, it's nice. But also, you're right. I have new friends now.
That's right. You do have new friends. So as you can imagine, Mrs. Filholm used to call all the time. We'd talk a lot. And if you're the close friend of someone going through a divorce, sometimes it bleeds over a little bit, and it's not bad. It's not that I didn't want you to share. It's not that I didn't care for you and I don't appreciate you. But good Lord, sometimes there's a lot of stuff that comes out when you've got a divorce, and your friends are the ones who pick up the brunt of it, I think.
That's right, and I am very clear that for so long, I mean, like really, I'm on compassion overload with my friends. They're like really, you get to the point, and that's actually one of the ways that I knew I was kind of coming out of the fog of getting a divorce is that we all noticed that in our class, which we'll talk about. We all noticed that like friends who had been really like treating us with kid gloves, at a certain point, you go, oh, I must be a little bit better because my friends are now coming to me with their stuff again. You know, they're coming to me with their bad day and their problems. And you go, oh, okay, I must be back a little bit. I must be a little bit healed because I'm not such a, oh God, yeah. You just feel like you're giving it to your friends all the time. So a friend of mine, not even a very good friend at the time, somebody I kind of ran into and said, oh God, I just moved out of the house and I'm getting a divorce, said, I've got a book you should read. I'm going to loan it to you. And then said, I've got a class you should take. I can't tell you, I don't know. It changed my life. And I went home that night and said, please send me the link to this class because this guy said it changed his life. And I said, okay, give me a link. Well, what's that about? This was in October. I looked it up. I went to coloradorebuilders.com and I looked it up and the 10-week class started the next day. And I signed up and paid for it that night and went, is there room? Yep, I'm doing it. I started the very, very next night. It was 3 hours a week for 10 weeks. I walked into that class. Oh my God. Broken, disoriented, just trusting that somebody said this will change my life. Somebody said you need it. Oh, I'm so glad I did this. I wasn't planning on it. I didn't know how I was going to deal with this recovery. And so the idea is that it's built around this book called Rebuilding by Bruce Fisher. And it's rebuilding your life after the end of a love relationship. And it's a group thing where for 3 hours a week, it's led by therapist Kathy Kahn. That's Kathy, Kathy, and Kahn. And she runs these groups based around this book, coloradorebuilders.com. And I mean, at the beginning, one of the big deals is that she insists that you need other people to recover. And at the beginning of that class, I walked in there and one of our homeworks at the very beginning was to call each other. And then there were social events every week. So in addition to 3 hours of class every week, we were compelled to go to a social event. I cannot tell you how anti all of that I was. Like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't need new friends. I'm serious. I have too many friends. We all felt that way. We all talk about it now, like how funny that was. Like, oh my God, I have to call a stranger and just do like a check-in. Ugh, gross. We forced ourselves to do it. As you know, I'm a very good student. I read the book. I did my homework. We walk through 10 weeks. There are 5 weeks of sad weeks, and then there are 5 weeks of glad weeks. And it really does transform that way. And before you know it, we became a community. I cannot tell you how, to this day, some of those people from my class are, oh gosh, they're listening. They're some of our finest listeners, and they're going to be very excited to hear Colorado Rebuilders sponsoring this podcast. Isn't that nice? Yeah, it's nice that Kathy believes in us, and I believe in that class so much. If you are in Denver, Colorado, or anywhere nearby, boy, we had people traveling all the way from Castle Rock and Fort Collins to come to that class. Mm-hmm. If you can make it happen, new classes start in the fall. She's got several going. It sounds rough, and it was, but it changed my life and has given me so much hope. I don't know where I would be without it. If you are in another state, look up Rebuilders groups because it's kind of a franchise. I mean, it's not a franchise. It's a method. And you can kind of get certified in that method.
Well, it's such a big life thing going on. A lot of different angles. We'll start here with the big life thing going on. You were in a relationship for 20 plus years, and when that goes away, nobody has those tools to deal with it on their own. They need some support. They need some friends. They need some guidance. And this class did a remarkable job of helping you with that. You would come to me and you would tell me things. I'd be like, Mrs. Filholm, I have no idea what to say here. I'm 25 years old. I don't even know where to begin.
And you were so great. You and Delaney were both so great. You were so present for all of us. And I know you feel that way. But right, of course, how the hell could you help? And that's the truth. It took a bunch of strangers. You know what the truth is, Andrew. Thank you, Kathy, and Colorado Rebuilders for sponsoring us. But the truth is I've talked about it on almost every episode. We've heard my homework. You know that I call it Diversity Club. That was actually Tal's moniker because the one thing we have in common, we're a very diverse group of people, and the one thing we have in common is this sad thing, but it builds this camaraderie and seriously, that's right. My friends have been going through the end of my marriage with me, and there's a little overload, and then it's just so interesting to have this one thing in common with people. I think it's true. I think it was the people interaction that was the great part. The book is amazing, and it takes you through these rebuilding steps, and I cannot imagine where I would be without it. I recommend it. In fact, we talk about we should give that book to people getting married. I mean, that sounds sick and horrible because it's a book about when you get divorced, but the whole idea is, listen, you are bound to repeat the same patterns that screwed up one relationship until you fix them, until you figure out what's going on. And that is based in your family of origin. So it's just like this kind of deep dive into how you respond to things, the homework that we were given. I took it very seriously. Some of it was just absolutely awful. It was a lot of feel it to heal it, there's a lot of walking through the steps of grief. And I am so glad I did that. I really cannot imagine where I would be without it today.
Well, I also think that first of all, divorce is extremely common.
Yep.
I looked up the statistic this morning. The American Psychological Association says that these people are clearly not statisticians because they say that 40 to 50%, they've got a 10 percentage point spread on this statistic.
Oh, that's funny.
40 to 50% of marriages fail. So
that's hilarious. That is so not helpful. Doesn't matter. It's funny though.
That statistic?
Statistic is not helpful. I've been looking up stuff like school shootings, statistics about that, and trying to find like some really solid stats to back up an article I'm writing. And that's funny. There's a lot of people willing, as we talked about, to not be good data scientists. Anyway, divorce is prevalent.
It's prevalent. And it's insane to think that you can go into a relationship unequipped. Anyone can enter into a relationship, and there's no rules, there's no licenses. That you just go
training.
Out there. Yeah, you just go out there, you meet someone, and suddenly you're in a relationship.
Isn't that funny?
It is funny.
Yeah.
And then 40 to 50% of those relationships are going to fail. That's just that.
Why would that even be surprising, right?
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, clearly getting into this thing without training was problematic. And now getting out of it is going to be problematic. You need some help along the way. And that's where Colorado Rebuilders comes in.
Sure feels like it. I mean, really, truly, I am so grateful. Oh, my God. Anyway, what else? Do you want to know anything else about the class? You've kind of seen it. The night you delivered my computer to me, we talked about that in our very early days. You saw the divorce ladies, and that was about 5 or 6 weeks in. Think about that. And you and Delaney delivered my brand new computer to me. I had them over at my transitional home, and you guys said, we could hear you screaming and laughing from the street.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a turning point for all of us. I couldn't imagine laughing and screaming 5 weeks before that. I was doing no laughing and no, living it up in a safe place with people who felt like they were supporting me. I was not laughing a lot.
Well, I think, it's one thing to do your homework and to go to your weekly social gatherings in week 5 or week 6, but it's another thing. You still see all these people regularly today, and you've been out of the class for weeks.
Oh, months.
In
fact, you know what I got yesterday? She has us write a letter to ourselves on our graduation day, and so it's been nearly 6 months. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
I got my letter to myself.
Time flies.
No kidding. Right, since my graduation day from diversity class.
But think about where you would be, the process of buying a house, the process of all these major life things you have to do at a time in your life where all of your other friends seem to be settled.
Yeah.
Your life gets shaken up in a way that it hasn't been shaken since your first child was born.
Yeah, right.
Right? So where in the world do you even find help with that? And the answer is Colorado Rebuilders.
Exactly right. I mean, I had you, Andrew. We talked it through, but I think that's right. I would not have been able to focus and clarify for myself because you do weekly check-ins. You have this space. It's not therapy. And the truth is I was seeing my therapist weekly in addition to Rebuilders class because I felt like then I could go and process my own stuff. So, I mean, that's up to people. We know I need a lot of therapy. But, oh gosh, it was just so great to be able to, that's right, walk through things, have check-ins, just understand that you are in a grieving process and so what to expect, because a lot of it really is a process that is kind of predictable and the ways that you can heal. And, I've so actively, like making a budget with you, I mean, talking about Mint and making a budget and trying actively not to blow stuff up when I'm uncomfortable or sad, I really had a lot of support for that on a weekly basis. And that's right, because she was exactly right. She is exactly right in these classes to form these bonds. Stay friends with these people, all of them forever and ever. It's not like we're hanging out together constantly. But I sure do have regular communication with many of them and actually choose to spend time with them on a pretty regular basis. And it's awesome because here's the other thing. I'm not even close to a year out. I'm still in a real weird place, as I've been talking about. So it's very nice that we still have these people. It's kind of like, who else? I'm not kidding. I don't want to call you or Kim or, some of the people who have been through this for years with us. It's like, you guys have done enough. And then it is hard for you to understand how to respond to this. But people who are in it, and the cool thing is we're all at various stages of the breakup, right? Some people are there because the rebound relationship they had after their divorce also failed, and that lands them in rebuilders class. Some people are years away from it and just still in a rut, so they take the class. Some of it, like me, I was sort of days into living alone. And yeah, it was great. So thank you for your sponsorship, ColoradoRebuilders.com. There are classes coming this fall. Here's what I think. I think you can go online and kind of reserve your space. You don't have to make a commitment. You can always come to the first night and without paying and see if it's right for you and ask questions. And then you decide if you want to make that commitment. If you do it, I encourage you to take it seriously and do your homework. I think it pays off. So you can go look right now. I think if you look, right now we're at the beginning of summer. If you are going through the end of a relationship and you are in Denver, Colorado or nearby, what peace of mind it might give you to know in September or October, I have something to look forward to that's going to get me through it. Because especially if you're a parent, summertime is probably not the time that you have to just really commit to doing a lot of self-work. But what a wonderful thing it might be to help you through the summer if you kind of reserve your space in the class now and know that that's something to look forward to. And like I said, if you're in another city and you are suffering through the end of a relationship, I would look up a Rebuilders class and the book itself. Reading the book is great and it can get you a lot of insight, but we've all agreed in our class that it's not the same as taking the class because it's the people who made it real to us. ColoradoRebuilders.com. Thank you, Kathy Kahn. One nice thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, great sponsorship, and thanks for saving my life, really. Right? Aren't you relieved that I don't call so much with my shit, Andrew? I mean, really, she did you a solid.
She did me a real solid. And I cannot tell you, like, it was palpable. You started this class. You suddenly had friends you could talk to about this stuff. And that took a lot of, like...
pressure off of you.
A lot of pressure. When someone calls and you don't have the answer...
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of listen and you feel bad because you don't know the answer, and then the call ends and then it's done, right? But when they've got an outlet with someone who can actually help and people who are actually going through the same things, it's so much more productive for you and me.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's the truth. We started this podcast because I had the space to do it. Like you said, it was palpable that there was a change in me, and it's not perfect and it's not easy. And I'm still, like I said, it's not like everything is peachy keen and I just feel great all the time, but I do feel like I'm working towards something better, and I do feel like, it sounds cheesy and I know you love stuff like this, but it feels like I'm getting closer to myself and my freedom and who I am, and that is amazing. I mean, that's the dollhouse on Shakedown Street. It's so good here. It's so beautiful. The grounds keep coming along.
They do. We've been having, all this weather, the lowest form of discourse. We've been having all this nice weather. Yeah,
but also a lot of rain in the afternoon. My grass is insane. I have to mow it. I'm hoping the weather holds 2 days so I can get the lawn mowed and Rafikki's lawn mowed.
How's Rafikki? Do you have a recovery update? Our listeners
sure
are dying to know, is she well?
You know what else I want to point out? I think some of our listeners very much love Rafikki. They can certainly send her get well wishes via us. Where would they do that?
They would do that at HMA at slova.app. That's HMA at SLOV as in Valerie. Valerie. A. Okay. SLOVA .app. APP.
And HMA as in half my age. I think that people really care about Rafikki and love her. And if they wanted to send her just a little shout out, we would be happy to deliver that message to her. She's mostly doing great. She's real mad that she is still a little bit housebound.
I bet she hates being laid up.
Oh no. As much as I would. You can understand. I mean, it would make me crazy. She has such a wonderful attitude. She's so great. Truly, she's wonderful. But yep, Rafikki is still nursing an injury, and she is probably 5 weeks ahead of her still to do that, putting no weight on that foot. What a bummer. But she's making it happen. I mean, she's amazing. She's in there engineering accessibility for herself. She fashioned this stool thing that slides in her bathroom that she could put her knee up on, and the occupational therapist came and agreed that this is a better solution than the scooter that they have for her now. You know, one of those things where you put your knee up and you can troll along because it doesn't quite fit in the bathroom. And so the occupational therapist was like, unbelievable. her mind is so sharp and her body is so strong and she's going to be just fine. But it's a bummer being laid up. It would drive me insane. And she can't even enjoy her nice yard or take care of mine, which is a serious loss to me.
This is, will this be your first time mowing your own lawn since you don't have the 70-year-old lady next door doing it for you?
We've talked about the plug-in lawnmower, Andrew. But today I'm going to use hers, which is gas-powered. So I'm just going to do a little damage to the planet, but not have to trip over cords.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, yard work is not that fun, but it's kind of rewarding. And I threw a bunch of pottery this weekend, which was great. One thing I realized about living alone is I can't put lotion on my own back. Just one of those check-ins about being alone. I might die in the shower. Can't put lotion on my back. Can't see that disgusting ingrown hair on the back of my neck. Can't see it. Nobody can see it for me.
Do you ever do that dance where you've got that disgusting ingrown hair on your back and you try to get a picture of it with the cell phone so that you can look at it?
It's so gross.
I did that not that long ago.
About an ingrown hair?
I think it was a zit.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my goodness, what have I become?
I know. And like close-up pictures of your skin are never good.
No, never.
I know. Yeah, I have done that, and it doesn't help. It hasn't helped me. So that's a kind of an update on living alone, Andrew, the things that I realize. My burglar bars have arrived.
I noticed you haven't died in the shower yet.
No, not yet.
You haven't had a break-in yet. Now you got your bars, so that's good.
Got my burglar bars, but I have to wait for the hardware to come. I think it's arriving tomorrow, so those will go up this weekend. Yeah, got a lot going on, but mostly I'm liking it. I'm loving the dollhouse on Shakedown Street. And yeah, I mean, I know the ad sponsorship is over, but it's not really about that. Going to that class empowered me all along the way, as did you. But as we said, it took some burden off of you that I was going to be okay. And that allowed me to get this house, which is more than okay. It's cool. Oh, great. I have a contract in for a fence.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I have to wait a while, which really bums me out.
You actually sent me a provision in this contract that made me laugh. Let me see if I can pull it up.
God, please do. Oh, God, that's so funny, right? Oh, yes, please. I forgot. So I'm under contract for a fence. I don't know. I think tomorrow I'm going to hear about when my install date is.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a real good security fence. So I'm paying a lot of money for that. I'm also going to get the chain link fence in my front yard replaced with a cute fence.
That is good. The chain link, it's functional, but it is not pretty.
So that's going to go, and it's not that functional, but it just prevents the zombies from like walking onto my yard, because there's a little gate. Yeah, okay, can you read that? Because this is from the contract that I was signing.
I got it. And this is from Article 4, Section 13, subparagraph C. It says, workmanship. Workmanship is all caps. Mm-hmm. We will do the work in a workmanlike manner.
Could you?
That's the end of it. We will do the work in a workmanlike
There's more.
manner.
It goes on. That was just the best part of it. I think it describes what workmanlike is. Oh, no, what that clause does? I should bring it. Doesn't matter. It actually goes into a lot of detail. Like, if we can do this, we will. Like, it's sort of, it deals with, like, if we can't do what we said we would do.
Contingencies and eventualities.
Right. If there are wires that we can't dig below we will do this. And so there's these lists of contingencies. But I love, what is it again? We will do the work in a workmanlike manner. And the subheading is workmanship.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Workmanlike.
Workmanlike.
Workmanlike is a single word.
It's a great word.
Workmanlike.
It's hilarious. Here's what I want to do. I want to have a job as a writer where I can write shit like that because it doesn't matter. I mean, those are like, is so not...
Delaney, who spends a lot of time poring over contracts day after day, she would argue that those things do matter.
Okay.
And that when you make up your own words, it leaves a lot of things open for interpretation.
Vagaries.
Correct.
I know that. And like I said, they do go further in this contract and sort of explicate what they mean by workmanlike. But that is so funny to me, defining workmanship with work and then workmanlike. We will do the work in a worky fashion. That's funny.
You know what that is? That's a load of ruckus.
Is it?
That's pretty ruckus.
Your mother asked me today if maybe bringing the ruckus is when you make me cry.
That's not a bad measure. We bring the ruckus almost every episode.
She said, is that the ruckus? She listens, which is great. Your whole family does. They're awesome. I guess we brought some ruckus today. Andrew, feels pretty good. We're on the up and up. It's summertime in Denver, Colorado. What could be possibly wrong?
Feels hot in here. We better get some air conditioning up in the studio.
It's real stuffy. We're gonna get something. Maybe buckets of ice. I thought about that.
Just put our feet in.
Ooh, I don't mind that. But like in the summertime, maybe we'll have to record in the early mornings.
Maybe. Maybe. Turns out that garden studios actually get quite toasty in the summer.
Garden studios with, blankets.
That's true. We're literally in a blanket fort right now.
We're in a real hot blanket fort, and our own body temperatures raise it every time. So yeah, it's not super. Well, we don't want airflow coming through here because that would make noise.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to air it. I'm going to cool it down each time before we record. We're going to be fine. It's summertime, summertime. Couldn't be wrong. We brought the ruckus. Bye, Andrew.
Goodbye, Mrs. Filholm.